a better Nigeria? Is it a myth or do we keep hoping?
Nigeria is a highly religious country. How come corruption thrives?
Why is adoption not encouraged in Nigeria?
Is there a future for the Nigerian youth?
Being rich and famous, is that the only drive to be an artist?
What makes a great nation? Is it the leaders? What about the people?
This is Answers with Dr. Reju. Hi, my name is Onari. This is Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. And I have in the studio today Adams Lojok. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And Obi Brown. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks very much, Onari.
And I have Dr. Reju.
Thank you, Onari.
You're welcome, sir. If you've been following this program, over a couple of weeks we've been discussing on the topic of business. If you haven't been following this program, you can catch up on all that has been discussed on our website, www.answerswithdrreju.com. Dr. Reju said last week on the program that universally, the major determinant for business growth and stability works on the premise of integrity and social responsibility. We also established that these two elements are yet to be ingrained in our business culture. Before we get into the focus of the day, let's listen to what we gathered on the streets of Jos as regards what was spoken about last week on social responsibility. I'm here on the streets of Ahmadu Bello Way, on the business district on Ahmadu Bello Way, with Mr. Femi Kimring, who is an environmentalist, the managing consultant of Spotlex World, and the organizer of Clean Culture Conference. I want to ask you a question, sir. Ahmadu Bello Way is filled with stores owned by businessmen and women. For example, it's always littered with plastic bags. What can they do about it? Just give us something practicable.
Now, one thing is that they must be ready to actually pay for their own waste. They expect the government to do it. Now, but if they actually value their own health, they will not have entrusted their health in the hands of government alone without also holding their destinies in their hands. So when you understand that, look, to be socially responsible is for your own benefit, then you begin to take up responsibilities that are yours.
Okay.
Now, according to what best practices, there is nowhere in the world that it is only the government that is taking care of the environment. Now, there's this policy that's called polluters pay. Okay. Now, if you are the one generating it, you are the one making the money, now you should be responsible or be ready to pay. In Lagos, like I mentioned, people pay to manage their own waste.
Can Spotlex clean up Ahmadu Bello Way if it's paid for?
Very well. Now, even places we are not being paid for, we do what we call our own corporate social responsibility every Saturday.
That Spotlex does.
That is Spotlex World.
Okay.
And we look for an area where we feel they are deficient in the way they manage their waste. Look for the leaders in such community. Lean on them to help us gather the people who live there. We do environmental advocacy. In other words, we speak to them, educate them about the dangers of what they are doing, and for free, we clear their waste bin for them at no cost.
We try not to think of government doing everything. We want people to be responsible because people make up the government.
And that's why I talk about people actually being ready to also pay for it. But one of the things we can do on the street of Ahmadu Bello Way is, for instance, at the token. Now, we can make that place look very clean. Okay. But bear this in mind. In our corporate social responsibility, one of our key campaign points is that if we clean this place, you don't pollute the place anymore. Okay. Because now, even if the street of Ahmadu Bello Way is clean today, now, in the next minute, you are very sure that there will be another mountain of residue.
So there has to be a process of training them to retain that.
Process of training them. There must be this will from the people that look, we don't want this place to look like this. Okay. And mind you, there's no way we can take the hands of government away from the issue of environmental management. Completely.
Answers with Dr. Reju.
Mind you, the people must have the culture, like we talk about Clean Culture Conference. Yeah. What it's talking about is that you must have the culture that, look, no matter what, if I sell on the street of Ahmadu Bello Way, there's nothing on earth that will make me dump the waste from my shop in that place. Nothing. Why? Because I have the culture that I shouldn't dump it at the middle of the street. Okay. That I should rather take to a sanitary landfill or a place where the environmental impact is going to be, to be less.
Okay, this is Mr. Femi from Spotless World. Thank you for being on Answers with Dr. Reju today. Welcome back to the program. This is Answers with Dr. Reju. Our focus today is going to be on how do we begin to imbibe these cultural elements, especially for aspiring businesses. And we'll begin with Adams. Adams, go first with your question.
Okay, thank you. You know, our context today is the motivation to go into businesses. It comes from a bad economy. The economy is bad. There are no jobs out there. So the main thought behind anyone, starting a business is, how do I start something to take care of myself? So you find out that the issue of social responsibility, integrity is at a minimum. So
in terms of consideration for going into business, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what do you want to tell our young ones?
Now, let me not explain those challenges away, because they are real. And as unfortunate as that might be, it does not validate or give us the room to do things wrongly. Because if you go into business with the wrong motive, that business will not have the juice for sustainability. Once you default on the reason, the accurate, authentic reason to go into business, which you've established over the previous episodes, that business, at best, it will put food on your table. But if that person in that business is a human being, you will never be satisfied. Fulfillment will not come just because you eat. And after a while, you begin to lose every kind of desire. That business will leave you if you don't leave it. Either of it will happen. And like I said last week, that the business world has its own lifestyle. If you don't live a life that is consistent with the way businesses are run, the business world will send you out. So it's real that people go into business just to find, just to eke out a living. But it doesn't make it right. For aspiring business people, I will strongly advise that there are opportunities out there. Even the economic downturn is an opportunity, because a lot of needs will be there. What is critical here is that you go into business for the right reasons. And I know that the narrative in society is all about what I can make. The moment what you can make is what leads you into business, you won't go far. Because you will default on everything that makes the business run, and the business is there for ages. Business you can hand over to children and great-grandchildren. It will not be there. I'll repeat it again. A businessman, an aspiring business person, you want to go into business, you must first of all see a need that will so catch your attention, that will so break your heart even, that you want to really meet, and then you look at that, believe it, that the reason you are seeing that need is because you have a skill set deposited in you that you can actually hone, to be able to eventually design a very good product or service that can meet that need. And then you now factor in these cultural elements of business, that I want to do this in such a way that society can trust me, that what I promised them, right, is what I'm going to give them. And in doing that, with that cultural element of integrity, with honesty, with transparency, with everything, I also want to be socially responsible. I want to be able to say I'm thanking the environment, the society, for giving me this opportunity. That's the reason why you will never evade tax. That's the reason. If you don't understand that, you always see tax as a burden. But if you want to be thankful for society for creating that particular space for you to express yourself in business, tax becomes something, and then you want to factor into that business. If you are conscious of the cultural element of integrity, you want to start with yourself. You want to be able to say that this business is in my hands and I want to make sure it grows. That's the reason why you will register it. You make it an entity, right? You open a bank account. You are accountable in the way you spend the money. You want to tell your society. Society says if you register a company, you need to file annual reports. You also want to do that, even if no other person is doing it. You are telling yourself you are in this for the long haul. So the challenge is real. I'm not explaining that away. But regardless of how dire situations might be, it doesn't give us the room to do things wrongly. If you do it wrongly, you are just postponing the evil day. The day regulations come you'll be the first victim.
True. So, how do you explain now the issue of pricing? Like you just mentioned now, you look at society, there's a need. You take your time, you sit down, you craft out a creative way to meet a need. You've put in some effort. And probably it may be too big, to cite an example, but pharmaceutical companies, they dedicate so much money and so much years into R&D, research and development. And it's like they're given that window to really, really put a premium price on their products. Now, scale it down to probably a vulcanizer who can do something uniquely better than others, and he wants to price premium. How would you gauge
price
that?
Premium?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where the problem starts. You see, let's take it to basics, basic economics, even commerce, the one we did in secondary school, all this kind of thing. You see, to price is simple. How much does it cost to produce it? Right? How much does it cost to give this service? That's where it starts from. Right?
Yeah.
How much does it cost me to actually produce this? How much is it going to cost me to render this service? And then you put something on top of it to continue to sustain the business. That's it. You see, when we bring in all these deep economic concepts, we want to cheat. There is no product, there is no service. If you have established the core value of integrity, I don't care how small your business is. If you can't tell me how much you spend to make calls in a month, how much you spend to buy data on your phone in a month, how much money you spend on transportation, right? You are not a person of integrity. You are flippant in the way you spend. You must be able to be able to calculate how much it costs you to do business. Is it the challenge we have here is that we don't understand, because when you mention integrity, it's like the trunk of a tree. It has many branches. Accountability is one of them. It might be difficult to be accountable to someone else, but you want to be accountable to yourself. So if you are accountable, you must be able to say, okay, if I am selling this product A, I must also be able to calculate how much it cost me to sell that product. Once you cover that, then you want to give something back to the business to continue to run it. That's how you arrive at your price. It doesn't even matter what other people are, how many other people are selling it out there. Right? This is how you arrive at pricing. Is it that removes from you any kind of competition, any kind of, market forces or no forces? That's what integrity tells you. Integrity says, I'm not in this business for profit. I'm in this business to provide service. I want to serve, and in providing that service, I need to run the business in such a way that it is sustainable.
Yeah.
So what makes the business sustainable? I must not take decisions on that business based on what is going on in other, even like businesses. I want to look at the uniqueness of my own business. Somebody might say, okay, what if the force of competition marks me out? It can't. The truth is, even the most dubious man is looking for the most honest man to do business with.
True.
Right,
yeah.
True.
Let me ask this question, because when we talk about integrity,
Yeah.
it's talking about black or white. Am I right?
Oh, sure.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, but from what your explanation on how somebody should set price for a business, it sounds to me that that's open for interpretation. It's open for how somebody feels, perhaps the context, perhaps the person's environment, how he grew up. Because if I put a cost, an entire cost to everything it takes me to design and develop this product or this service, I've factored in all the costs, right? What I put as a markup is now my choice.
Absolutely.
But integrity on the one hand is black or white, right? So how then will I now be able to so I could decide to put something that I feel it's okay. Another person looks at me and perhaps he feels that I put too much, and so he says I've done something wrong because I put too much. But in my heart, I put something that was okay. And I'm still going to go back to this question that Adams asked. Because
can I respond to that one first?
Okay.
Whether somebody says you've put too much or not too much, right? Even if you put too low, somebody might still say you put too much. When we talk about integrity, the person you want to be is you, not how people define you.
Okay.
Right? That's what integrity says. And where I thought you were going would be that, do I take into consideration the market cost, maybe, or something like the shop or my office space? Of course, yes.
Yeah, we had already said that.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah, we had already said that. We are factoring in all the costs.
So it is not going to be based on people's perception of it. It's going to be based on, when we talk about integrity, the person you want to satisfy is your, is your self, is the values that you have imposed on yourself. Remember few episodes ago when we actually defined work, right? Work is any productive activity, right, that serves community, that brings fulfillment. The person you want to be fulfilled is you. And I tell you this, I talk based on a little bit of understanding that I have about human functioning. About human functioning. When you do that, it doesn't matter how others perceive it, right? It's just a matter of time before you begin to. Once you are satisfied with yourself, what people say about it, it doesn't really matter, right? Time will prove that you've done the right thing. That's the reason why you can't go into business for any other reason. If you are going to do it for a quick fix, you will come out quickly.
So, Dr. Reggie, you know the challenges of doing business with government. And there are some people who only have to do business with government. How would you advise you come up with a pricing strategy when doing business with government?
Now, that's one of the great challenges that we have. This is what I tell people who do business with government, right? I said, if you do a SWOT analysis of your business, doing business with government is not just a weakness, it's a threat. If you look at the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats of your business, don't put the fact that the government is your primary target market as a weakness. It is a threat. I've done it before. But I'm going to answer that question this way. If you are doing anything creative, something highly innovative, if your motive of going into business tallies with what I described earlier on, you might actually not find yourself doing business with government. Right. Now, having said that, if you have to do business with government, 30 minutes won't permit me. But honestly, if it is possible, it's a narrative that we have come to agree, that government is the biggest spender. Fine. For those who want to have business that will be there for the long haul, I can tell you that people who do real business with government, I am not for anybody doing supplies. I won't classify doing supplies, supply paper, supply things for any kind of organization as business. It actually goes against every principle of business. I won't classify that as a business. But I'll talk to somebody who maybe you develop softwares for government to use. They give you a contract to make road and all those kind of things. If you talk to them, you discover that most times they actually call the shots. Most times. It's difficult, but it's possible. If you will not bend, worst case you lose that business, right? Worst case you lose the business. But if you want to do a good job, it's going to be tough working with government. Let me get away from that a little bit to talk about how we can solve that problem. The reason I want to talk about that is because if people have alternatives, they won't work for government. If most people don't have to work for government, you take the control out of government, especially for aspiring business people. If you have people who will commit to thinking, I'll give an example of what you are doing. Do you need government for study lab?
Well, I don't need government, but government will be great.
You see, government will be great because you are now looking at, because I'll keep asking you the question, Obi, that in your business of study labs, what's your real profit? Is it how many people subscribe or buy your USBs, or their grades in WAEC?
Absolutely, their grades in WAEC.
Because the reason you are looking at government is they might introduce you to government schools. You are looking at number. It's no longer grades in WAEC. It's how many USBs you sell. So that's why when I responded to your question last week and you said, how do we start? I said, it's a reorientation. It's a reorientation. Let me go back to what I said for emphasis. If everybody will look to creative, innovative, if they will look at basic challenges and problems in society needs to be met, the urge to go do business for government will reduce. If government don't have this high patronage, right, then the way they do business with other people will be different. Because most of the business that we do with government is because we want quick money. Is because most of them government can do it by themselves. I was sharing with somebody that said, why do we have procurement departments in government parastatals and ministries? They are the ones supposed to go buy the papers in Rampam. But they give the contract to somebody to go and buy the paper. So the person brings the thing and put the price 10 times that price. I mean, supplying paper, supplying palm kernels, supplying all those kind of things is dehumanizing. It wastes, it devalues humanity. I detest supplies. I detest it because it reduces it turns a human being to a piece of bread.
Well, maybe it depends on what exactly you're supplying.
Maybe because you can supply services. You can supply services, which is going to be creative. You name your price, and you know the kind of thing. But when it comes to government asking for maybe what they normally ask for, if many people begin to walk away, if we are not motivated by greed, that business also will go out of fashion. My challenge is Nigerians are calling for change, right? But really, how many are politicians? They are not up to 100,000 of our population. So who really is the corrupt people in this country? They are the people. If one politician is corrupt, it's because about 200,000 people are corrupt, because they are the ones they use. So if we will not, if we are looking for other places, other avenues to do business, there won't be much, patronage for government to do all these kind of things. I believe that's the way out.
This is Answers with Dr. Reju, and we continue immediately. Obi, question. So,
this issue of pricing, Dr. Reju, when somebody invests in your business and the person has almost as much stake as you do or more, they actually call the shots. How do you sell your philosophy of integrity in a case like that?
First of all, that's a very difficult one. And that problem stems from the beginning, how we choose our partners. The person you want to journey with. If you don't share the same values, the same philosophy, it might be tough. But we can also look at if it's maybe like a venture capital, maybe like a group of people, maybe you take a loan from a bank and all those kind of things. But I believe before you do all that, maybe you should have done like a cash flow for them. And whatever projection you are giving them, it will have been inspired, determined by your own philosophy. This is my markup. And they are proof based on that. So many times we want to do a lot of crash kind of things. That's why I said business must be something that is well thought out. I mean, if you are in the same boat with the wrong person, it's going to be rocky. It's going to be very rocky. So check who you are entering into business with. It might not even be somebody who found the business, who has a stake. It might even be some changes along the line, pressures along the line. But you see, I believe pressures come to test what you say you believe in. That's it. And you see, I can tell you, if you read stories upon stories, I'll tell you the story of Dennis Bakke. I always refer to him on this program. Who, when he started his business, he found, he used the same principles. He had 4 of this business philosophy. He had 4 of this business culture. He has the integrity, he has the social responsibility, he had fairness. And then he put one that is really, really crazy. He said fun. He said we want to have fun. He said we are not going to be looking for fun, after we leave work. We want to make work fun. And this was a business quoted on New York Stock Exchange. So at the time, everybody, and he was talking about this thing, sweating to sell it to them and everything. And somebody got up and said, you guys can go have fun, but I'm taking my money. But I'm taking my money. So you will have those downsides, right? You will have those downsides when, because disappointments are part of business, right? Disappointments are part of it because there is no battle that ever go as planned. So you must be ready for all this. In fact, the partner might agree with you at the beginning. And in the middle of the journey, pressures come, family, this and this and this and this person begin to sing another tune. Those things are difficult, but I believe there are always ways to navigate through it. And the way is keep to your, it might mean that you need to do a reset. It might mean that maybe your share of the market, you lose some of it. It might be that your productivity will have to be, lowered. It might be you going it alone for a while. The person might want to take out, but challenges are part of business. There's a particular saying that if you want to listen to a man in business, don't listen to his successes alone. In fact, more, listen to his failures. How the person has been able to navigate. So you might be writing your own book too by those kind of challenges. But this is what I say. If something is cultural, if something is value-based, if values are cherished ways of living, which are not open to negotiation, right? And what I've seen over the years is that if you stick to your guns, people begin to take you for who you are. But the moment you flip-flop, they won't trust you. They said the last time the guy did that, he didn't. That's what integrity is. Integrity basically says that I am the same during Harmattan. When it comes to rainy season, it's still me. Right? It's still me. I might wear a different dress, but it's still me. In every season, in every circumstance, those values hold true. Because business is not for weaklings. It's not for weaklings. It's not for people who just want something quick. Can you handle it when things get tough? That's why I believe any business that's going to grow must start small. Any business without a history won't go far. In fact, that's why you never hear them. If you hear of any business, it must have a history. So that's just my take on that. I consider those things as situations, occasions when trouble comes, But when trouble comes, what takes you over and above it and out of it are the values that you have established for yourself, which you express through that business. Because business is actually a way of expressing who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can't change who you are.
No, you can.
Yeah.
Okay, 30 minutes is never enough to say all you want. I know Adams has a question and Obi can go on and on, but this is a wrap of the program today. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Reju. You're always very insightful. Thank you, Obi, and thank you, Adams. Let the program continue. Let it run on all our channels. We want to acknowledge the input of Mr. Castle from Gindiri, who requested that the program be extended to 1 hour. Well, Mr. Castle, we are looking into that. Thank you for your feedback and for following Answers with Dr. Reju. And to everyone who sent feedback on our social media platforms, we truly, deeply appreciate you. Keep up the discussions with us on Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. Give us a call or chat us on WhatsApp on 081-4456-9000. Check out our website and interact with us on www.answerswithdrreju.com. Like our Facebook page, Answers with Dr. Reju, or send us an email at answerswithdrreju@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are @Dr. Reju Answers. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Answers with Dr. Reju, where you can get all our episodes. Join us again on Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified.